As an autistic adult, I've seen the mistakes people are making at work, and for years I was making the same ones myself. As I started to learn more about my brain and made peace with the way that I process the world, I began to see autistic traits in others. This is where I really started to see the struggles people were facing from the outside looking in. In this video, I'll list the 5 key mistakes people with autism are making at work based on 26 years of working for someone else before I started the business 2 years ago. Let's dive in. The biggest mistake anyone with autism is currently making at work in 2024 is not being honest about it. Yes, there's a risk to any brutal truth, but without that truth about their autism being aired, strategies cannot be implemented by the employer to make sure that the absolute best is gained from every individual. I think we can all agree that autistic people process situations differently, which can cause conflict with their peers and managers. This conflict is often exaggerated because the people involved misread the situation, labeling the autistic person as arrogant or rude. 2 things that autistic people really don't mean to be. An autistic person can often struggle to filter their response to an idea or opinion, which can lead to frustration with their colleagues. However, if the team knows and understands that autism is at play and that the individual is merely sharing an honest truth without the typical filter that we've all become accustomed to, there's a lot more acceptance. In fact, said brutal honesty can often lead to alternative ideas being explored. Trying to fit in as a neurotypical individual is hard enough. Trying to do it as an autistic adult, surrounded by people whose actions just simply don't compute, is damn near impossible. Yet because so many autistic adults have spent so much of their lives masking their autism, they feel like it's the only way to get on. Think about this for a second. An autistic adult in a room full of traditional thinkers and rule followers. That autistic adult is the one going left when everyone else is going right. In many cases, these people might not even want to go right, but they've been conditioned over several years to follow the pack. It's simply not in them to stand out from the crowd for fear of being hammered. You remember what happened to the nail that sticks out? It's no surprise that 1 in 3 self-made millionaires is autistic. To truly make a difference in a world full of people safe in the knowledge that all they have to do is keep their nose clean to live an average life, you have to be willing to be that person that goes left. That's what a proud autistic adult with no desire to fit in will do. Embracing your autism is one thing. Developing a nasty habit of blaming it for everything you do wrong is something very different. As an autistic adult myself, who's recently been diagnosed after a lifetime of questions, I know all too well how empowering it feels to finally understand why you do the things you do. But it's all too easy to take that step too far and double down on certain autistic traits, using autism as a deflector to anyone pulling you up or questioning your behaviour. This is definitely a slippery slope that autistic people working for someone else should avoid. Yes, we process the world and everyday work situations that arise differently from our colleagues. And yes, sometimes our boss talks so much shite that we feel like we need to call them out. Yes, business strategies developed by people that have never actually done the daily tasks are ludicrous. And yes, we often feel like bursting with the idiocy of the people around us. But being autistic doesn't give us the right to stop working on our delivery of feedback. As an autistic adult in the workplace, you have the unique ability to see things in a way that others don't. The skill is to bring people into our world and show them that perspective, rather than continuing to believe that it's us against the rest. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, the personal fit between an autistic adult and their employer just isn't right. Both parties are willing, doing everything they can to understand each other's perspective on the business, but in the end, departure is inevitable unless you cling on too long. I've seen it so many times. Talent and ideas that could literally change the world wasted on a company that's never going to embrace them. Even for autistic adults, and sometimes more so, the safety net of a paycheck each month is at least one item to tick off the growing list of anxieties. But no one said every autistic adult had to be the next Jeff Bezos. There are millions of employers in the world crying out for a fresh perspective on their business, a perspective that very often only an autistic adult can bring. Change is hard for any autistic adult bringing money in, but what's more frightening is being unhappy and unheard forever. This is one that's particularly close to my heart because I spent most of my career doing it. As an autistic adult employed to fulfill a role, you need to be able to pick your battles. I found myself picking a fight over every decision or business strategy I didn't fully support, completely forgetting that the other 55 people in the office may well have agreed with it. In my head, if I thought it was a bad idea, surely it was a bad idea. When you work for yourself, with no one to answer to, you can go mad with your ideas and opinions. Sometimes you'll get it right and sometimes you'll get it wrong, but the only person it impacts is you. As an autistic employee with no desire to start a business, it's important to understand and appreciate the impact your continuous challenging on the big decisions has on your colleagues. Yes, it's good to ask questions, and no, you shouldn't ever do anything you're not completely comfortable with. But like anything in life, compromise at the key moments is essential. The times I've reluctantly backed down from a fight only to learn something new from the idea that I so fiercely objected is insane. Humble pie, well and truly swallowed. Currently in the UK, we have a big issue with autistic adults not being understood and embraced in the workplace. This has a lot to do with the education of the employer, but it also has a lot to do with the autistic adult in question not doing their part. Changing a redundant work culture in the UK is never easy, but we have to remember as autistic adults the vital role we play in that process. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you get as much value out of this one as you did our last video, which was our highest viewed video ever. It would be hugely appreciated if you have, you drop a subscribe to the channel, drop us a like, and ask us any questions in the comments that we can answer in the next video. Stay unconventional.